So ancestral worship, is it something that is unique to Africa, or it's something that is being practiced globally? Ancestral worship is something that is done globally, right? It's something that is done all over the world. We can also go back to the Bible and check, which is where I want us to start today. So before we start with today's episode, please do us a favor, subscribe, comment, like, share, and yeah, let's get on with it.
The level of your mercy is amazing, unending. Since I met you, Lord, all your loss I'm amending. Following your steps and your way, I'm defending.
So where I want us to start is back in the Bible, right? I want us to go back to the Bible and check if the Bible does talk about ancestral worship and consulting the dead. Now, when you go to the book of Leviticus, it says that give no regard to mediums and familiar spirits, right? Mediums and familiar spirits. You know that mediums talk to the dead. Familiar spirits are the ones that come to your dreams and all that, as your great grandparents, the ones that will tell you to go get initiated and all that. So God in the book of Leviticus, he says that give no regards to mediums and familiar spirits, right? Mediums are those people that talk to the dead on your behalf at some point, your sangomas and all that. God says that give no regards to those things. We go to the book of Deuteronomy 18, verse 10 to 12. It says that there shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or his daughter to pass through fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits. We mentioned familiar spirits just on the last verse, or a wizard, or a necromancer. A necromancer, if you've been watching, there's this show that used to play on, I'm not a TV person, right? But I do know there was this show called Ndlozi, and there was this lady who was talking to the dead on behalf of family members and all that. That lady is a necromancer. So if you want to know what a necromancer is, that lady is the example of it. Or a necromancer, for all that do these things are an abomination to the Lord. Now, I could read a whole lot of verses, right? But I'm just going to read these two. If you find yourself in a church, and this church at some point, it affirms familiar spirits, it affirms ancestral worship, it's unfortunate you're in the wrong place. If you find yourself in such a church, run. If you also go to the book of 1 Samuel chapter 28, you'll realize that Saul went to consult a medium. Saul decided that, you know what, I'm going to consult a medium, because the presence of God was no longer in his life. But now, when we go to the book of 1 Chronicles chapter 10, it shows us the consequences of his actions. On verse 13 and 14, it says that Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He did not keep the word of the Lord, and even consulted a medium for guidance. I don't know how many gods we have in this world, right? But I do know that if you are in a place and the claim is that we worship the God of the Bible, and then we affirm ancestral worship, then we have a problem, because the God of the Bible makes it clear that ancestral worship is unacceptable. Like, I don't know, if there's something else that you worship, is fine, because you do it how you do it, but the God of the Bible does not accept ancestral worship. So if you find yourself in a church that pushes you towards ancestral worship, that does not condemn ancestral worship, then that's where we have a problem, right? That's where we have a problem. The question is, who do you really worship? Because this one does not allow it. My point is, the Christian God, the God that is in the Bible, does not allow ancestral worship, just like it does not allow a bunch of other things, right? So, if the claim is that we worship the Christian God, the one of the Bible, and then go on to affirm ancestral worship, it's unfortunate. You're not worshiping the God of the Bible. You're worshiping something else, right? You're worshiping something else. Of which, if you want to worship that thing in your own free will, fully understanding that you are worshiping something else, it's fine. Everybody has got a right to believe in what they want to believe in. You've got a right to serve what you want to serve, but fully understanding. But right now, I'm just saying, if you are in a church and this church pushes you towards ancestral worship, that church is worshiping something else, but not the God of the Bible, not the God of Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, the father of Jesus Christ, the creator of heaven and earth. That is not the one that you are worshiping, but you are worshiping something else. So at some point, your leaders have to sit you down and tell you that, listen, we are not worshiping the God of the Bible, we are worshiping something else. Because the one of the Bible condemns ancestral worship. Even God told these people that do not consult with the dead. When he tells these people that do not consult with the dead, it means that it's been there for a very long time. Even when Abraham was being called from a different kind of a religion. In his home, they worshipped something else. There were gods, foreign gods that were being worshipped.
Where does it come from, bro? Like the history of Bungoma, do you know? Like if you...
History. It depends which part of the world you are in.
But it's
I mean,
in
for as
African.
much as... No, it's not unique to Africa.
For real?
Japanese have ancestral worship.
Yeah.
The Europeans, it's everywhere.
Indians.
It's everywhere. In majority
Yeah,
of
it's everywhere,
indigenous, historical, I mean, the Native Americans do ancestral worship, or, the ancestor is important as a medium of divinity, yeah. Most cultures in the world, most cultures in the world use herbs. There's very little that is unique about that terrain. It could maybe language, maybe certain traditions in it, but as a regime of spirituality, it's not unique to Africa.
Bro, there was a friend of mine, he once told me...
So as a African spirituality, you don't ancestral worship, but that's not unique. It's not. Yeah, a lot of people across the world in many cultures, before Islam, before Judaism, you must go look at in the Bible itself, when God is calling Abraham, he's calling him out of what type of a religion. So it's not unique, not at all.
So this is what you gotta think about. How people in Africa, or those who advocate for African spirituality, explain it. They explain it like only Africans worship ancestors. For example, we go to Asia, right? And in Africa, we burn incense. What is incense? I think in Zulu they call it impep. In Africa, we burn incense, right? In Africa, they burn incense. In Asia, they burn incense. In Africa, there is this norm where they will tell you that your ancestors are hungry, and then you'll go to a graveyard or the river with food. You'll put food there. Even in Asia, they do that. I think even Europe, they do the same. So when we talk about ancestral worship is a global practice done in different cultures. The only thing that can be different is language, like Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi said, that maybe language is different, but the practice itself is not unique to Africa. It's not an African thing. is a global thing that has been practiced over the years throughout the world. Even today, it's still being practiced. In Japan, they practice it. If we are gonna say there is what we call African spirituality, what makes it African spirituality? Because there is no Asian spirituality, there is no European spirituality, there's no American spirituality. All we see is a bunch of people who are engaging with the dead, which is dangerous, by the way, who are engaging with the dead. That's just a global practice. That's just a global practice, and it opens a portal of demonic spirit to your home, to your family. We got a bunch of generational curses to deal with after you have opened those portals. So at some point, do not be deceived by these people telling you that there is African what. Nah, there is no such thing as African spirituality. What we have is just spirituality. These people are delving into witchcraft knowingly and unknowingly. They are delving into demon worship knowingly and unknowingly. And that's something that is done all over the world. But you are gonna take it and rebrand it and say, there is what we call African spirituality, and people are romanticizing it. If there's such a word, yeah, there is such a word, and people are romanticizing it, and we have to embrace this thing like it's new, like it only belongs to Africans. No, this thing is done all over the world, and there's nothing special about it, and it's dangerous, and it's putting you in a place you don't want to be in, right? It's putting you in a place that you don't want to be in. So do not let the devil and his minions deceive you. This is where I'm gonna end. Until the next time, God bless.